I can predict what you're going to be eating at 9 p.m. just by asking one question. Did you eat breakfast this morning, or are you running on caffeine and willpower? Because after working with hundreds of clients in clinic and teaching nutrition to thousands of practitioners over the years, I have noticed one pattern over and over again. The women who skip breakfast, they're usually the same women standing in the kitchen at 9 p.m. eating cereal out of the box, picking at their kids' leftovers, convincing themselves that they have no willpower. And before anyone says, okay, well, that's a big leap there. Honestly, I'm not making this up because I was one of them. And I've seen this happen hundreds of times with clients as well as in the clinic observations that I do in the college. In fact, if I could only change one thing about most women's diets, it wouldn't be cutting carbs or going gluten free. It wouldn't be adding things like green powders or supplements. It would simply be eat a proper breakfast within an hour of waking up, because I've genuinely seen this one habit transform women's energy, hormones, cravings, mood, and relationship with food more than anything else. And today I'm going to explain why. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Linda Vizzoli, nutritional therapist, health coach, and senior lecturer at the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London. I help women understand their hormones, restore their energy, and feel confident in their bodies again through simple nutrition and lifestyle shifts, which honor our unique female physiology. So let's dive in. Let's start with something I hear almost every single time I suggest eating breakfast. But Linda, I'm just not hungry in the morning. I see you, because that was me too. My mom used to chase me down the street with a glass of orange juice so I didn't go to school on an empty stomach. So I totally get it. But I also notice this. People often say it like it's some kind of badge of honor, like, I've never been a breakfast person, or I just have coffee. Or the other one I hear is, if I eat breakfast, then I'm hungry all day long. So I just want to prolong that fast. And I know that as women, we have been conditioned to believe that being hungry is something to fear. But let me tell you, not being hungry in the morning is actually a sign that we're running on stress hormones. We should be hungry after 10, 12 hours of not eating overnight. And when cortisol and adrenaline are elevated, as they often are when we're stressed, underslept, or underfueled, they can suppress appetite. Think about it. If you're running away from a tiger, your body doesn't think, I'm feeling a little bit peckish right now. Could do with a bit of a sandwich. No, digestion gets pushed down the priority list because survival comes first. And whilst we may not be being chased by an actual tiger, we may be doing things like, answering our emails before we've got out of bed, rushing through the school run, drinking coffee instead of eating, and then wondering why we're exhausted or why we can't control our cravings. So if you're regularly waking up with absolutely no appetite, especially if you're also struggling with fatigue and cravings or hormonal symptoms, I see this as something worth paying attention to. Because this is the thing. Food is information. Every meal sends your body signals. When you eat a nourishing breakfast, you're effectively telling your body there are enough resources. We are safe. You don't need to stay in emergency mode. And this is really crucial for female biology. For some people, the shifts are immediate. For others, it may take some time, but consistently giving your body adequate fuel first thing in the morning can be a powerful signal that it doesn't need to keep relying so heavily on stress responses. And when your body feels safe, amazing things will start to happen. I actually had a client who suffered with crippling PMS and period pains for decades. She was very busy, and the only change that we were able to implement at first was ensuring that she had breakfast. This became a non-negotiable for her. Within 1 month, her cycle improved, and she actually thought it was just a coincidence. Within 6 months, the PMS and period pains were gone. And we made no other major changes during this time other than having breakfast. She described this as life-changing. Now, you may not be struggling with hormonal issues, and that's absolutely great, but you may be struggling with what feels like a lack of willpower around 4 p.m. in front of the biscuit cupboard, or I call it the snack attack hour. You know the one. You've been good all day, coffee for breakfast, salad for lunch, maybe a rice cake if you're feeling wild and crazy, and then suddenly you're head first in the Nutella jar, picking at crisps, eating your child's lunchbox snacks, standing in front of the fridge, wondering how cheese has somehow become dessert. So here's the thing, your body needs fuel to run your busy day. And if you've spent the first half of the day running on fumes, there's going to come a time during the day when their body will eventually say, excuse me, I'd like some energy now, please. And because your body needs quick fuel, guess what you crave? Glucose, the body's main fuel source. But unfortunately, it won't make you crave an orange or a banana. You'll be scarfing down chocolate, bread, crisps, which, by the way, I have no problem with as a part of a whole foods diet, but they can be problematic if you end up binging on them or you feel out of control around a chocolate bar. So the pattern is simple biology. It has nothing to do with willpower. I've experienced this myself. I've seen it with my clients, and I've seen it repeatedly in thousands of case studies over the years while teaching nutritional therapy and health coaching. It's one of the most consistent patterns that I come across. Okay, so have I got your attention? Are you thinking about giving breakfast a go? If so, great. But let me share another controversial opinion. A bowl of Greek yogurt with berries isn't breakfast. A chia seed pudding is not breakfast. One egg on toast with avocado is not breakfast. So please don't come for me. These are all lovely and they're a great start if you're implementing breakfast after years of abstinence, or if you're not hungry in the mornings and you're trying to work that appetite back up. But long term, these are snacks, I'm sorry to say. Breakfast should be one of the biggest meals of your day. You have the entire day ahead of you. That's when your body actually needs fuel. Think about it. You wouldn't set off on a road trip and put fuel in the tank as you're about to reach your destination, right? You fuel up before you set off. So I want to see meals like eggs with sourdough and cottage cheese and fruit, or oat bran porridge cooked with milk and with added casein or collagen, some berries, maple syrup, maybe a milky coffee with collagen on top of that, or even a regular meal as breakfast. That's what they eat in Asia. Things like noodles, noodle soups, curries, amazing. So we've been hounded by the message that we need to start our day with protein, but we also need carbohydrates in the morning when we are most insulin sensitive, which brings me nicely to my next point now, that women need to stop fearing carbohydrates. Poor carbs. Honestly, they've had terrible PR over the last 20 years or so, but carbohydrates in the morning make physiological sense. After an overnight fast, your body is generally better able to deal with carbohydrates earlier in the day rather than late at night. Yet, what do I see? Women surviving on coffee until lunchtime, eating tiny, tiny lunches, maybe quite protein heavy, then consuming most of their calories and carbohydrates in the afternoon and evening, exactly when the body should be slowing down. Then they wonder why they're ravenous every evening as well. I also see things like nowadays super high protein breakfasts and lunches with barely any carbs, save for a few berries and maybe a little bit of sweet potato, and then the snack attacks in the afternoon and evenings with the carby foods. So let's get those carbs in the morning and lunchtime and see the changes in our evening cravings. Let's fuel for the day that we're actually living. Okay, let me address a couple of arguments I hear all the time when I talk about this topic. The first one being breakfast was invented by the cereal companies. And yes, breakfast cereal companies absolutely marketed breakfast heavily, but saying, therefore, breakfast itself is unnecessary. It's kind of like saying that exercise is pointless because someone once sold expensive gym memberships. I've also heard the argument that our hunter gatherer ancestors didn't eat breakfast. Well, yes, okay, they may not have eaten breakfast because they had to go out and fetch their breakfast. But do you honestly think that they would have purposely avoided eating in the morning if they had food? So when I talk about breakfast, as I said, I'm not talking about eating highly processed cereal in the mornings. I'm talking about eating real food after your body has gone 12 hours without any nourishment. They're not the same thing. But Linda, I hear you say, what about intermittent fasting? Isn't that the pinnacle of health? Well, this is probably where I'm going to ruffle some feathers, and this is the hill that I'm probably going to die on alone. So hang tight. Some people do well on intermittent fasting. If that's you, you go for it, sister. If you're fasting, but you're sleeping through the night, you have stable moods, regular and pain-free cycles, good libido, good digestion, strong hair and nails, you keep doing you. I'm not here to stop you doing something that makes you feel good. That is not my vibe. But I'm talking about experience from the hundreds of women who usually walk into my clinic. They're already stressed, they're eating erratically or under eating, they're exhausted and relying on caffeine for energy, they're putting on weight and they can't get it off. So adding fasting on top of this often just piles another stressor onto an already stressed system. So for many of the women that I've worked with, introducing breakfast, not skipping it, has been the turning point. All of a sudden, they start sleeping through the night. Their cravings disappear. Their relationship with food improves. They stop binging in the evenings. They have more stable energy and stable moods throughout the month. And perhaps most importantly, they stop feeling like food is something that they have to fight with all day. And I see this happen time and time again. Clients coming back after a few weeks and saying, I don't even think about the biscuits anymore, or I'm not picking all evening and snacking. I've stopped binge eating. My periods are pain free and I don't have raging PMS anymore. I have so much more energy and I'm slaying my workouts. So, eating breakfast has been described as life changing by so many of my clients, and I would completely agree, as it's turned my life and my health around too. So here's my advice. If you're genuinely hungry in the morning, please eat. Don't ignore that signal. And if you never wake up hungry, don't automatically assume that it's a sign of perfect health or something to be happy about. This can be a clue that your body has adapted to running on stress hormones and deserves a little more support. So I challenge you to start your day with a proper breakfast for the next 2 weeks. Enough food to actually fuel an adult human being, not a toddler. And pay attention to your energy, to your moods, to your afternoon cravings, and what happens at 9 p.m. Because after all these years in clinic and in the college, I can honestly say that this is one of the simplest habits that has created some of the most biggest transformations I have ever witnessed. For many women, it's the first daily opportunity to tell their body that it's safe, that there's abundance, and that we don't need to survive the day. If you'd like to go deeper into this work, I have an online self-led program with group coaching called the Midlife Reset, designed to guide you step by step. It's my flagship program built from more than a decade of clinical experience working with hundreds of women alongside my teaching work at the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London. I'll pop some details below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.